redemption is denied.
We are talking about the movie Bloodwoods. This one directed by John Rain and written by Thomas Stoops. So this is a extremely low budget, made for around $10,000. Kind of like crime vampire movie, I suppose you will say. The story here focuses way too heavily on this kind of like this gang of bank robbers. And we see kind of towards the beginning of the movie that they end up kind of taking hostages with this bag while trying to do a robbery, have a shootout with the cops, and end up in this kind of like farmhouse which is in the woods somewhere, and they had a kind of couple of hostages kind of holding out there, and this happens to be in the woods of this kind of like this strange vampire that appears to be wandering around in the woods for no real apparent reason. So what do we think of Bloodwoods? This is an interesting film, I would say, because you're kind of watching this and thinking, is this a horror film? It appears to be a low-budget action film for the most part, and you won't really see any kind of horror-related elements until quite late in the game. So the pacing of this film is very odd, but it focuses for so long on this kind of this robbery, for example, and then this kind of these guys in this house for so long before we really see anything. And I've got to say there are some wildly divisive performances here. Some of the actors, I would say, I'm not going to kind of point out the differences, there are some capable actors in this movie, but there are some horrible performances as well, and some real kind of over-the-top acting. I will say, I feel some of the smaller characters actually probably better actors than some of the guys who have more meaty roles, but they're wildly differences in kind of acting skill here, and it's a shame because I do feel, generally speaking, people will kind of tar this with it's a bad acted movie. The effects are obviously minimal, and I feel maybe the idea was this wanted to be a kind of Tarantino-esque style kind of vampire movie, with this kind of like these robbers kind of having all this kind of like what they think is witty dialogue and stuff like that. But it's so poorly staged. If you kind of look at the bank heist, for example, and the police shootout, just look at the police firing their weapons. They look like they're literally not even looking. It's quite funny, and they're just like, you know, bang, 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 without really kind of aiming on anything. It's ridiculous. It's so poorly staged, I've got to say. The film just drags because this film is, you know, it doesn't get to the point anywhere near in the time that you would want. And obviously when we do get there, ultimately you're kind of like, you're kind of a little bit fed up at that point, and it's a little bit kind of too little too late. You know, the vampire looks, you know, pretty menacing for, I guess, for a kind of a low budget movie, but it kind of seems more of an afterthought, if I'm completely honest here. Overall, I would say the negatives do outweigh the positives in this film. You know, it's clearly obviously a low budget film, and they've tried to go for a mishmash of styles in regards to kind of an action drama with obviously horror elements, but I don't feel it works. I mean, obviously maybe they were trying to, you know, kind of like get the dusk till dawn formula going here, I don't know, but it doesn't work, particularly this low budget fashion. But I feel a vampire movie is something you can kind of do on a low budget. It doesn't require kind of loads of effects, but it's just if you like, unless you like really kind of low budget amateur movies, then I would say you're probably best off giving this one a miss. If I'm completely honest with this, I just don't feel it's going to be entertaining enough for mainstream kind of movie goers. Even if you are you kind of just straight to DVD fare. So I'll give this movie a 3 out of 10. But it might be worth a look if you're curious about very low budget kind of horror films. Anyway, 3 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me comments, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Bye.